My name is Sophia. I am 19 years old. I love someone, but he never chose me. I did not plan to tell this story, but some stories stay inside too long. So today, I will tell you the truth. I remember the first time I felt something was different. They smiled at me, not a big smile, just a small one. But for some reason, my heart noticed. At first, it was nothing, just messages, just talking, just laughing at small things. I told myself, don't think too much. But I did. I always did. We talked every day, good morning messages, late night talks, sharing songs, sharing dreams. I learned their favorite color, their favorite food, what made them sad, and slowly, they became part of my daily life. I waited for their messages. I smiled when my phone vibrated. I felt calm when they were around. I told myself again, it's just friendship. But my heart knew better. I fell in love quietly. I did not tell them. I did not show it. I loved them in small ways. I listened. I cared. I stayed. When they were sad, I stayed. When they were confused, I stayed. When they needed someone, I stayed. I thought, if I stay long enough, they will see me. I was wrong. There were signs. So many signs. They talked about other people. They disappeared sometimes. They came back like nothing happened. I felt pain, but I smiled. I felt jealous, but I stayed quiet. I told myself, they don't owe me anything. And that was true, but it still hurt. I was always there, but I was never first. When they were bored, they came to me. When they were lonely, they came to me. But when someone better came, I became invisible. I noticed it, but I stayed. Why? Because I loved them. One night, I asked myself a question. If they never choose me, how long will I choose them? I had no answer, so I stayed again. Slowly, I changed. I laughed less. I overthought more. I blamed myself. Maybe I am not enough. Maybe I am too much. Maybe if I try harder. But love should not feel like begging. I learned that too late. One day, they told me something. They said they loved someone else. They said it casually, like it was nothing. But for me, it was everything. My chest felt heavy. My hands felt cold. I smiled. I said, I'm happy for you. But inside, I was breaking. That night I went home. I lay on my bed, lights off, phone in my hand. I stared at the ceiling, and for the first time, I asked myself something scary. Why am I loving someone who never chose me? That night, I could not sleep. My mind kept replaying every small moment with them. Every smile, every laugh, every word. I remembered the times I stayed up late just to talk to them, the times I helped them with small things, and hoped they would notice me. I remembered feeling happy when they said my name or asked how I was, and now it felt like none of it mattered. I felt empty. I felt like I had given my heart to someone who would never keep it. I wanted to cry, but I held it in. I wanted to scream, but I stayed silent. I wanted to leave, but I could not move. My heart ached, and my chest felt heavy. I realized that loving someone who does not love you back hurts more than anything. I thought about walking away, about stopping caring, about letting go. But it felt impossible. Every time I tried, a small memory would pull me back. Every time I tried, a small hope whispered, maybe tomorrow will be different. I asked myself why I was still there, why I was still hoping, why I was still loving someone who never chose me. I remembered all the moments I ignored the signs, all the moments I stayed quiet, all the moments I smiled while my heart broke inside. I realized that I had been holding on to an illusion. I had been holding on to someone who never belonged to me. I cried quietly in the dark, letting the tears fall without sound. I felt anger. I felt sadness. I felt regret. But I also felt something new, a small, quiet strength. I realized that I could choose myself. I realized that I could stop waiting. I realized that I could love myself the way I loved them. It was hard. It was painful. It felt like letting go of a part of me. But slowly, I started to breathe again. Slowly, I started to think about what I wanted. Slowly, I started to imagine a life without them, a life where I mattered first. I remembered that love is supposed to feel safe, not broken. I remembered that love is supposed to lift you, not hurt you. And I realized that I deserved better. That night, I made a promise to myself. I promised that I would not wait anymore. I promised that I would not give my heart to someone who does not see my worth. I promised that I would start choosing me. And even though it hurt, even though it was hard, I finally felt a small spark of freedom. I finally felt like I could take the first step. I finally felt like I could start healing. And I knew deep inside that the hardest part was over. I just had to keep moving forward. The next days were not easy. I still remembered them, still thought about what could have been, still felt the sting of rejection. But I noticed something changing inside me. Every time I resisted the urge to check their messages, every time I chose to focus on myself instead of them, I felt stronger. Every small step I took away from waiting for someone else, I felt more alive. I started doing things for me, things I had forgotten I loved. I started spending time with people who valued me. I started saying no when I did not want to say yes. And slowly, the pain that had felt so heavy began to lift. I realized something important. Loving someone who does not choose you is not weakness. It is courage. Courage to feel deeply, courage to care, courage to hope. But true strength is knowing when to stop giving your heart to those who will not protect it. I learned that I cannot control who chooses me, but I can control how I choose myself. I learned that my value is not defined by someone else's attention or affection. I learned that letting go is not giving up. It is making space for something better, for someone better, or simply for my own peace. Now, I can look back at the love I had and feel gratitude instead of pain. Gratitude for the lessons. Gratitude for my own heart. Gratitude for the courage it took to keep loving even when it hurt. And I know that life will continue to bring challenges, but I am ready because I have learned to choose me. If you are watching this and have ever loved someone who did not choose you, remember this: you are not alone. Your love matters, your heart matters, and you deserve someone who sees your worth. Thank you for listening to my story. If it touched you, if it reminded you of your own courage, please join us here at Avenue English Story. Leave a comment sharing your story. Let me know how you felt. And don't forget to subscribe so we can share more stories like this together. Your story matters, your voice matters, and together we can turn pain into strength.